Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Phoenix King, also known as Jared Jackson. With me, as always, is the other half of the dynamic duo, Mr. Satan Fish himself, Jesse Daniels.
Hey, how's it going?
And we have Juanrito Burrito, our sound producer, with
Hey,
us
what's going
today.
on? How's it going?
And we're going to go ahead and do something a little bit different. We're going to go ahead and hit this ethical question right now.
Ooh, ethical questions.
Ooh,
Yep, it's
That's
time
kind.
time for ethical corner.
Yeah, and
So our ethical corner today is about gay rights. It's Pride Month, and so of course we're going to hit this issue. It's a hot button issue. It always has been. Uh, Especially now, you've got conservatives back in power in Washington, and a lot of people are worried about what that means for the LGBTQ community.
yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just kind of worried right now that people are going to uh, like take back stuff that we kind of put up with the Obama administration. I'm not too afraid of that. I just can't see them doing that because if they do that, people would riot. That would be a big tipping point.
I mean, it wouldn't be that much different than all the rioting that's been going on anyway with the Black Lives Matter movement, a lot of the other stuff. But we'll get into that another time.
Yeah, and I have my opinions on those too. I'll go ahead and say, as the conservative in the room, my only withdrawal on the whole gay rights thing is from a religious standpoint, and it is specifically just the act of sex. And it's basically a personal thing. I don't like anything even remotely close to my ass. I have hard feelings against even wiping. If I could have a bidet, that would be the best possible option.
What are you, French?
Yes, bonjour.
So you're
For
very
good.
what's the word? I cannot think of the word.
Conservative?
Not
Well,
conservative, but
yeah, the conservative is definitely in there,
but there's another word for
I'm a
someone who's just
libertarian.
not very sexual. Like it's
it's called asexual.
No,
But no,
it's
it's not that
It's
he's
just,
it's not that he's asexual. It's just that he doesn't want anything in his body.
yes,
Oh.
I do not like, and you know what? I've always had this viewpoint that, like, with my partners in life, I've never wanted to put anything in their butt either, because I don't like it. I'm not gonna force it on anyone that doesn't want it.
And you know when you talk about it that way, you're really just pointing towards one section of the LGBT community, and that's gay.
Yeah.
But
I think a
Yeah,
lot of
no,
people
my whole viewpoint is like
have the
just
idea.
that aspect. I've known a many a person that is a part of the LGBT community. I maybe fucked up that acronym, but I have known a lot of homosexual people in my life, and personally, every one of them that at least I've run into for the most part have been really great people. My only withdrawal, withhold, however you want to phrase it, is from a religious standpoint.
And that brings
It's
up
more of a sexual standpoint. It's more of like you're just not a huge sexual person, which I think the LGBTQ community isn't like fully sexual. Like they don't define themselves by their sex.
it's not about sex.
Yeah.
It's about who they are as people and who they love as people. And
But
a
I
lot
can
of
I
people
completely understand that.
Yeah.
and a
Like
lot
I
of people
said,
do come at it from a religious standpoint,
Mhm.
and that's where we see a lot of issues
Prude.
that
I was
people.
thinking the word prude.
I see
He's
what you.
prudish.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And I think
I'm not a prude.
But
I have an unpopular opinion about this.
I mean,
I
you
understand
still,
that.
but
I-
you still believe they deserve rights.
Yeah, they
So
deserve. Everyone
that's-
deserves rights. If
Yeah.
you have breathing and have a heart, you deserve rights.
well, that counts out
that's
Mike Pence right there.
Okay. Since you brought up Pence, we'll go and talk about this. The whole idea, everyone's like freaking out. There's like, oh my God, Trump's in power. He's gonna take away gay rights. Oh, what you forget is from the entire '90s, he was a Democrat. He's still socially liberal, just physical conservative.
He says that. Now, I think the big problem when you start talking about gay rights, though, is that people come at it from a religious standpoint. You got to remember that as a country, there's a separation there.
Of
We
church
don't
and state, yeah.
we don't we don't want religion to become in power here. We don't want a theocracy.
right.
Now we have no problem with religion. I mean, it's your First Amendment right off the bat,
Mhm.
freedom of religion. You can do pretty much whatever you want as a individual, as far as your religion goes, for personal reasons, but we don't want to bring that into the government.
Yeah,
And when you give tax breaks on marriage and you make marriage a social institution that's monitored and maintained by the government, then you have to understand that it's going to end up being taken in from a governmental standpoint. So
yeah,
it
and
can't be a
that's
religious
completely
issue anymore. It
true.
has to be a political one, and there's no political reason why uh, there should even be a discussion. I mean, like you said earlier, everyone deserves rights, and so marriage inequality that shouldn't be a discussion. Everyone should be able to get married to whoever they want to get married.
honestly, the way that
But
marriage
here's
is set
the
up
thing,
today,
the
it
part-
just everyone should be able to be married.
Yeah, and everyone brings the argument from the standpoint of like someone that is pro LGBTQ, and this brings into a whole different ethical question: is the idea that if you disagree with me, your point is invalid.
No,
I think that's
it's
a big
not.
problem.
But specifically,
It's a big problem with
I'm
two-party
coming
system,
from
though.
like the arguments that I've personally heard in my life. Now, I'm not trying to defend any redneck a-hole that does that. Everyone deserves rights, and yes, I may have issues with this, but that does not even remotely mean that I wish any ill will towards anyone that is identifies as homosexual, like gay, lesbian, transsexual, anything like that. I wish no ill will towards it. It's strictly a religious viewpoint that I have, and I'm more open to it as compared to other people, but I still have my withdrawals on it. And I don't mean this. I'm not trying to make myself sound like an asshole or a very rude or evil person. That's my only thing. It is within my First Amendment right to have these beliefs. Now, am I going to try to push it on someone else and do like all these protests against like gay people and gay pride riot, not riot, parades?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about he brought up Black Lives Matter, right? I was thinking about that. That's why I said that. But I mean, I grew up in Cobb County for the first like maybe 5 years of my life, and I lived in Newton County, which is a very rural, red area. But the thing about Newton County is it's completely, for the most part, in my experience, like a mixed county. There are just as many liberals as there are conservatives. And that was kind of like the melting pot I grew up in. There were people that were super, super to the left and super, super to the right. And the majority of everyone was down the middle. They had their own viewing points on it. And for one thing, I'm not gay. So I don't know the struggles that people have been in. But the one thing I can say is our state capital is one of the biggest like gay rights areas in this country. You have San Francisco and then Atlanta, and more power to them. I have no problem with that. My whole thing is any like unpopular opinion I do have comes from a religious standpoint, but it is not one from a hateful standpoint, because I understand this is a different time. Socially, it's accepted. That's perfectly fine with me. I just have small like.
So I think you're more saying that you're just like you're not saying I disagree with it. Like I don't think you're just saying like I myself am not gay.
And I have my issues with it, but I wish no ill will towards anyone that is.
And I think that's all right. I think because you're not saying
I'm not coming at this as a way of
you're not attacking anybody or saying they should be. You're just saying I'm not.
Like I said, back in high school, I knew a girl that was an outspoken lesbian, and she was one of the coolest girls I knew. And I mean, she was a friend of a friend, and when they started to really hang out a lot, I got to know her. She was really, really nice. I've met many lesbians and gay men, and they're great. In fact, my senior year, there was a dude who ended up, like we found out later, became a transsexual. Changed. I don't
Transgender.
Yeah, changed. It went from a him to a her.
Mm-hmm.
I said it. That's fucked up. Never mind. But I've had experience with it. It's not this like whole taboo idea to me. I understand completely that it's within their right. And if you don't believe that, look at what happened with the Obama administration. They legalized gay marriage. Perfectly fine. And hell, you can call me bigot all you want, but Ellen DeGeneres is one of the funniest people on the face of the planet. And the only daytime show that I can even remotely. Actually, I'll say I fucking love Ellen. This is the only show that I could watch. Like, I like Rachel Ray and all that, but like back in high school, I would get home and actively try to watch the Ellen Show because Ellen knows how to make good content. Basically, just to sum it all up, my viewpoint on this is I don't give a flying fuck what your viewpoints are. And I'm swearing a little bit too much. I do apologize for that. But
it's a hot, like I said earlier, it's a hot
We'll
topic.
censor it in post.
yeah, and here's the thing: I have no problem if you want to do lesbian, gay, trans, or anything like that. You want to do that, perfectly fine. It's within your right. But don't get pissy with me when I decide that there are certain aspects of it that I'm not comfortable with. It's not that I'm coming from a place of hate. It's just the way I was brought up in a very religious household. I'm still a religious person. And I mean, just ultimately, my viewpoint is I'm an equal opportunist. Everyone in my eye gets an equal chance to be either horrible to me or good to me. And I'm not going to make any judgment calls on whether you're a different race, ethnicity, sexual preference, religion than what I am or what I view. Because this has always been, I think we make the joke that we're PC-13, but ultimately we're going to say what's on our mind, whether it's politically correct or not. It's just the way we are. And I want this comment section to realize that say whatever you want, all right? Just keep it clean. That's what we've always said. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do have an unpopular opinion, but no, I'm not going to apologize for it because it's my worldview.
Well, and it's not really an unpopular opinion if you think about it, because you literally said that socially and politically you agree. It's within their rights.
On a religious standpoint, I completely.
And then on a religious standpoint, you are uncomfortable. But I mean, again, that's your religious view. And like I said before, we got to try to keep religion and politics out, separate. So you can hold a political view that is liberal, and then hold a religious view that is conservative. And there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't have two different viewpoints on it.
Like I said, it's on a personal like I've met a lot of gay people, and I know that sounds like the whole argument. Oh yeah, my friend's black, all that that type of argument. And I understand it does sound a little bit weird, but I mean, personally, I've always tried to be nice. Jesse will tell you, he knows me really well, that yes, I can be a douche sometimes, but I do it in a funny way. And deep down inside, if anyone that works on this podcast, both in the recording and the post, or any one of my friends needs anything, I'm going to bend over back and help them. I try my best, even though there are times I make very uncomfortable statements. And
I think
recognize
also
that.
if someone was to say something like, say, oh, hey, what you said I didn't like, or what you said made me feel uncomfortable, you'd at least try to be
No,
like...
I would completely engage them, because if there is this idea of something called an absolute truth.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's objective truth. An absolute truth would be a statement that no matter what your viewpoint on it, it's real. Case in point, gravity exists.
Fish are aquatic.
Yes. Jesse's hairdo makes him look like a 90s straight edge wrestler.
Jesse's incredibly sexy.
Jared's even more sexy.
These
And
are
Juan's got some cool fluffy hair.
These are just facts.
These are facts. That's why we get along, because me and Jesse are both egotistic, and somehow it cancels each other out.
Yep.
Well, it's like that whole thing about two wrongs make a right or something.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I think the saying is they don't. But
I'm not.
I'm pretty sure two wrongs make a left.
I'm not a word meister. I'm not
sleepy right now. I spent the better part of yesterday in Augusta, Georgia, driving around trying to find a new pair of shoes. We went up there to try this restaurant.
I have family in Augusta.
There's a restaurant you should check out if you like Freddy's called Culver. It's a nicer version of that. Basically, it's an upscale Dairy Queen. And that's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a Red Robin's. That's the way my dad presented it. He's like, oh, it's a really cool burger place. I'm like, all right, cool. So I go in there. I get this Wisconsin burger, and it's just like two pieces of metal, two patties,
You see piece of
onions,
metal.
and cheese. I'm
Sounds like
mumbling today because, like I said, I stayed up way too late playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, also known as one of my absolute favorite games.
That reminds me, later I do want to talk about some other podcast ideas that we've had. Thought it'd be interesting to ask people what their thoughts on that would be.
Yeah, well, as soon as we're done with this,
Yeah,
we
later,
can
but
lead
just
into
'cause you
that,
mentioned
and
the
we
video
can
game.
get what Tom Fuller is always about.
Let's go ahead and wrap up our ethical corner though. So basically, what we have landed on is that politically, it is important that everyone know that they have rights, that they have the right to get married, be happy, enjoy their lives together. It is within your right. It is what this country was founded on. It is just about being basically human as far as it's described. And again, you have the religious implications that you can just go ahead and take. But as far as your religious ideals are, that's more of a personal choice. As far as it goes socially, in this country, everyone has the same rights. Uh, and real quick before we do end this topic, I want to go ahead and since it is Pride Month, I want to go ahead and talk about uh, some points of pride. For example, uh, historically, something that a lot of people might not know, and something that I only learned about recently myself, is Baron von Steuben, who was openly homosexual. He got kicked out of the Prussian army in the 1700s,
I love this compliment.
and he
Conversation. Like I said, I'm going to be really tongue-tied this entire podcast. But the story Jesse's about to tell you is probably one of my favorite things in hindsight, considering the country he's talking about and the time period we're discussing.
So Baron von Steuben was a openly homosexual Prussian aristocrat, basically, who got kicked out of the Prussian army and was recruited by Benjamin Franklin to the American army in the 1700s. America hadn't won a battle with Britain yet.
Mm-hmm.
So Washington is hunkered down in Valley Forge in the middle of winter, no shoes, disease running rampant through the camp, people dying left and right. He lost about 2,000 troops just that winter. When they hear clanging metal, and they think the British are attacking, and they're like, "Ah, great, the rest of us are going to die now." So he sends out the scouts, and he sees they report back that it's a sled being pulled by reindeer with bells all over the bridles. And when the sled gets there, it's Baron von Steuben in a fur coat with a tiny dog on his lap, and 4 of his little boyfriends, 4 of them, and his military advisor, which of course, he would have.
Right.
So Steuben whips the Americans into shape, teaches them how to be soldiers, because prior to that they're just farmers and tanners and coopers, and he turns this ragtag bunch of lovable misfits into an actual killing machine. And in the next battle that is between the Americans and the British, the Americans finally win.
Yeah.
And so this country has a lot to be thankful for as far as the LGBT community goes. I mean, historically, we might not even be here without the aid of an openly homosexual Prussian aristocrat.
I'm happy you brought this because either on the next episode, which will be up Wednesday, and or the episode the week after next, because next week, unless Jesse wants to do something, I will not be here. I will be on vacation.
I might upload some individual content.
Yeah, but for a 4th of July special, either Wednesday or the week after I get back from vacation, we will be talking about the ethical choices of America, since it's going to be Independence Day.
Oh,
America. And
yeah.
we, like I said, if you have any thoughts on this, you want to call me an asshole, I'm fine with that. Let us know in the comment section. Now let's get on to something that's a little less hot button. the fact that I look so good today.
Well, I mean, I would say the same thing, but I look good every day, so there's no reason to just keep saying
Okay,
it.
thank you,
I
Jesse.
would pretty much say that today is one of my better days.
Yeah, Juan doesn't look like the usual homeless dude he always does.
Oh,
I'm
boy,
just kidding.
babe.
Juan's actually very, very
Oh,
cool
how
dude.
sweet. I'd say that most of the time I just look like that one dude who has been there for hours. And you're just kind of like, is he in this class? Like, he's just been there. Like, I just don't, like, you see me working on my computer in the corner, and you're just like that's kind of my life right now, um, working on those stuff. So, actually, what I want to talk about is um, some gaming stuff that I've been working on, and I don't know if you guys have been doing anything, but I know kind of with this podcast we have this kind of ethics and we have random conversations.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
I mean, that's the best way to explain it.
but
Yeah.
I've been thinking about basically doing split off podcasts.
Which it's something that me and Jesse also have thought very heavily on. And for right now, I think the only thing now this could change at any moment because God knows that me and Jesse are creatures of habit and we like spontaneity.
Mm-hmm.
At some point down the road, we have decided to branch this out into like bigger podcasts, have more than one.
I think I could see that, but we could possibly do like because I had the idea, and the reason I'm saying it is so that people in the comments can say, "Oh, I think this is a good idea," or "This is not a good idea."
Yeah,
we can
I mean,
get some
I like the
feedback.
fact that we're bringing it up now.
And so one idea I had was the possibility of doing 1 week, or every week we do this show, and then every other week we do a video game show or a D&D show, or you had your nerd up kind of show idea, Jesse. You want to talk about that for a little bit?
Well, Nerd Up's a very simple concept. It's a review show of nerd culture itself. It's run by two people. The idea was born amongst myself and my friend Justin, who he hasn't been on this show. His work schedule is kind of wonky. But the idea was that it would be two characters, two fictional characters that we would portray. That being a villain, who I would portray, who is the representation of fantasy, and paladin, who my friend Justin would play, is the representation of science fiction. And we would look at nerd culture in total from every standpoint with recurring story arcs and a review.
Yeah.
Some of the things we were looking at reviewing was the Dragon Age games, the Dragon Heart series for some fantasy aspects, and then like Doctor Who or horror movies, things like karaoke. We would do a we were going to have a cosplay episode. Just things that are pretty typical in nerd culture.
I like the idea of the karaoke.
Yeah, man, it's basically
fun.
just a review of karaoke itself, like a history of karaoke, and then throw in maybe a song or two that we would have done.
And of course, I had the idea of the D&D themed podcast called The Podcast of Many Things, which was basically me. I would invite some people, and I'd talk about D&D and how it's changed over the years. And as someone who's been a DM for an upwards of 6 years, you kind of learn a lot of stuff about running a story and how to. You even learn a little bit of writing, character development. So I wanted to talk to basically just kind of say my thoughts on different stuff and talk about how I, write my characters or how I run games. I think a lot of people would like to know that, especially people who want to get into D&D as a hobby and are kind of a little bit afraid that they're not going to do so well. Kind of, show them the way to do that.
Oh, that's kind of a good
Because
idea.
I think D&D is a really fun hobby, great hobby, and it's a lot easier than a lot of people think it is because everyone's afraid you have to be this amazing writer or this really good storyteller to be able to play D&D. I want to kind of disprove that and say you don't need to be amazing. You just need to know.
All right, and Logan, your thoughts on this? Good talk. Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Jared? You got any ideas on individual content?
Well, I mean, for one thing, I've for the channel, like help run the basically like the broadcast section of our channel. Jesse's running it overall. Juan's gonna be one of like the heads of
Oh,
our
should I talk about the
gameplay.
animation stuff, or should we?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We'll
It's
we'll,
still
we'll talk
new.
about things like that later when
Yeah.
we get it more settled.
Okay.
Basically, what you really need to know is that our creative director is Jared. Jared is the,
yes. It's really a co.
it's a
right now,
co-founded.
It's co-founded between a split of power between half me, half Jesse. And the way we like to look at it is we're two immortals that can only kill each other, but we really like life so much we're not really going to mess with each other.
Yeah.
I'll live in my drunken stupor off of my apple juice, and Jesse will live in his palace with his many drones.
Yep. Well, and so the split of power really is while equal. Jared is going to be heading up our creative directions. He's our creative director here at Project Overload,
And Jesse's like the marketing genius that he is.
Yeah, just basically general stuff. Like working on our Facebook page. If you haven't,
Juan,
if you-
not call me Goyim anymore.
yeah, if you haven't checked
I'll call
out,
it Gentile.
if you haven't
Thank you.
checked out our Facebook page, it's Project Overload. So and if you need to look it up, just at Project Overload 123. So go ahead and give us a like, subscribe, follow our page, like and subscribe our videos. If you want, you can hit the little notification button, and then you'll know when we upload content.
Though it is every Monday and Wednesday that we can, and there is no set time because we are on a student schedule and we record when we can, upload as fast as we can, and we do care about you. That's why we try to give you good content.
Yep.
Yes, I try because today I'm running at about 50%. I should have had coffee.
Yeah. Well, and today we really wanted to focus on the ethical corner instead of doing like a major episode. One of our long episodes, we wanted
And
to
I'm glad
focus
that we were able to
specifically
talk
on
about
that.
the ethical thing and get it out,
Yeah.
and make this kind of episode mostly about that.
Don't worry, for all of you that just want to hear us ramble about pointless things, it's coming.
That's
I'm also glad
Wednesday.
That I was kind of able to debut in this, and eventually I can think of a better nickname.
Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday we'll be doing it back to an hour.
And, I mean, we can go ahead and just keep doing an hour. I haven't got the text I was waiting for.
Want me to get you a drink or something?
I'm good, dude.
Okay.
Do we have soda though?
Yeah, I brought soda this morning.
Oh yeah, I'll grab one if.
Get us 3 of those. Thank you. We have a trained creature in the
It's
back.
not really a creature. It's
We
another
found him
dude.
in a black lagoon.
Yeah,
and,
that's what. Thank you.
You know, it was very hard because he was obviously a fish person, and teaching a fish person to breathe outside of water is very difficult. But
The way he works is if you've ever seen the movie Step Brothers, not Step Brothers, the other guys. So it's very, very close to the way that Will Ferrell threatened to kill Mark Wahlberg's proverbial lion in the old tuna versus lion debate.
the lion debate.
Tuna figures out how to use seaweed, wraps around his throat so he can breathe. And he comes, he's good. Is you and your lion family? He uses nothing. We're tuna. Tuna are fishes.
Oh man, and that's it's really a spoof on buddy cop movies.
It is. That's what I love about it. What's your favorite buddy cop movie?
My favorite buddy cop movie?
There's only one correct answer in my opinion, but I want to hear yours.
Well, I mean, you're gonna say Lethal Weapon, of course,
Because I have a reason.
and it is one of the best buddy cop movies out there. But you really have to think to yourself, what do you want out of a buddy cop movie? And for
Mel
me,
Gibson and Danny Glover. That is all I need.
for me, I wanna have some action sequences, but I also want to laugh. And so for me,
That's why Lethal Weapon's the perfect movie.
I don't remember the title of this movie,
Lethal Weapon.
but
2,
I
Revenge of the Sith.
watch it all the time whenever it's on. I think it's Blue Crush or something. It's
Blues Brothers.
it's Martin.
Martin Lawrence and Steve Zahn. It's
Yeah.
I think it is Blue Crush.
Where he stole a diamond and hid it in a police. What
Yeah.
would eventually become a police station, and he has to pretend to be a cop in order to steal it back.
Was it? Maybe it's not Steve Zahn, but I know the movie you're talking about.
If you guys know title of that movie, put it in the comment section.
I'll see if I can figure it out.
That sounds right. I was gonna say my favorite buddy cop movie is also my favorite Christmas movie, which is Die Hard.
Could you call that a buddy cop movie?
Yeah, 'cause
Carl
there's two
Winslow
cops.
and Bruce Willis have a loving relationship.
That is a
yes.
very good.
That's
I
true.
can't think of the actor's name. I used to know it, but I
He's
can't
the
think
dad in.
We
He's,
also talk
he's
about-
always Carl Winslow though.
Can we talk about like in the show Family Matters? Carl Winslow is actually a very abusive person.
He is. He physically abuses his family all the time.
And we are completely stealing this from a show that Jesse loves called Crack.
Oh yeah, I love crack.
Ours. We're not going into a deep conversation. We're just bringing it up.
Yeah, but
That's different.
I do love crack.com.
I think
they are
Cracked is okay.
nah,
I
they're,
like their
they're
videos
funny
more
guys.
than their
They're
content.
great.
Have you read their online articles?
I've read
I
most
have.
of them. Some of them are just not.
Again,
I
if
don't
you
really
want to check this
articles.
out, go to crack.com or look up their Cracked homepage on YouTube. It's worth the effort. And we're plugging them again. We're not big enough yet for them to notice us, but
Always giving them plug. I
Since
also
we have
wanna
more
plug
time
Meats
now,
Games.
since we're doing
Yeah.
an actual
Their
hour
group
this
that
time.
works with Machinima. And they've been doing something called Battlefield Friends, and I rewatched the entire series the other day. Really good.
I want to actually talk about the animation I've been working on. Can I still talk about that?
No.
Since we're doing an hour now.
No. And I'll tell you why. It's not because I'm trying to be a dick. It's because we're still working out all the kinks with that.
That's true.
And when
And you don't
I
want
do
us to make any
promise you,
promises?
when we have everything completely in order, I don't want to unveil anything that we haven't given a lot of thought to.
Right.
The second I have it completely out in which it can physically be done in a way that would be good for the channel,
Mhm.
I swear to you, I will give you a 30-minute podcast to just talk about that.
Okay.
That's all I have.
and
I'm not trying to like silence Juan. Juan's a very important member of our team. He does a lot of the sound editing for us, and we do love Juan over here. I want to have it more kind of hashed out before we do anything.
Right. And I guess you don't want me to just say anything and then make promises that we can't.
Yeah.
fully-
yeah, we don't want to make promises to
Everything that we
listeners.
talked about now, like, is in our wheelhouse right now. So
Well, and actually, I do think that it's a good point to just go ahead and stop right now because we don't want to detract any from our pride discussion. So let's
Okay.
we're gonna go ahead and end the podcast now. We're gonna end it a little early, and
and we'll go back to the normal like format next day or two, which will be Wednesday. And we want to thank you, and just remember, keep everything cool, kids. I don't know
Don't-
where I was going with that.
See you next time.
yeah, don't spread hate in the comments, and you know that you got to come up with your own personal solutions for everything, but remember that socially we have landed on everyone has rights. So
yeah, and I think the most important point we've made is that Lethal Weapon's the best buddy cop movie of all time.
that is that too. So if you know the name of the other movie, go ahead and post it in the comments.
All right. And